I couldn't stop touching my stepson during the blackout, and he didn't stop me. True story. The lights were gone. My balance slipped. My hand landed on his bare waist, and he didn't flinch. He watched me. I didn't stop. I still feel it, still crave it. What would you have done? Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to stay updated on our latest stories. I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who confesses something like this, not out loud. And definitely not to strangers. But maybe that's the point. You don't expect it. You live your life quietly, responsibly, hiding the ache in your chest with perfectly folded laundry and carefully planned grocery lists. Until one night, something breaks. My name is Vanessa. I'm 41, widowed for 3 years. I used to be a wife. Now I'm mostly just alone. I came up here to the cabin to get away from the noise of the world, or maybe to escape the silence of my own home. You can only talk to yourself in empty rooms for so long before the echoes become unbearable. I wasn't expecting anyone else to show up, least of all Logan. He's my stepson, my late husband's son from a previous marriage. 22, tall, quiet, polite in that way boys are when they don't know if you still count as family. We were never close. He spent most of his teen years with his mother. I hadn't seen him in almost a year, not since the funeral. And then, there he was, standing on the porch, drenched from the rain, claiming the roads were closed from the storm and asking if he could stay just one night. I didn't even think twice. Of course, I let him in. Of course, I offered him a towel. What else was I supposed to do? But what started as shelter from a storm became something else. And I'm not proud of what I did. I keep thinking if I tell someone, anyone, it'll make it feel less real. But it happened. And I don't know if I want to forget it or feel it again. The cabin belonged to an old college friend who insisted I use it whenever I needed a break. No Wi-Fi, no neighbors, no expectations, she'd said with a smile, handing me the keys like it was medicine. And maybe it was. I needed to disappear for a while. Back home, everything reminded me of the life I lost. The hollow kitchen chairs, the side of the bed I never touched, the mail that always came with his name on it. I went from being someone's wife to being no one's anything. That ache, they don't tell you it doesn't scream. It whispers, all day, every day. So I came here. It was early October, but the mountain air carried a chill that felt cleaner than what I was used to. I packed books I wouldn't read, a journal I wasn't brave enough to write in, and a bottle of wine I'd planned to open for no reason at all. It was supposed to be quiet, simple, healing. But loneliness has a way of amplifying the smallest things, the creak of old floorboards, the way firelight flickers against glass, the echo of your own breathing. And that first night, I had just started to forget that anyone else even existed in the world. When I heard the knock. Not thunder, not wind. A knock. Slow, solid. And when I opened the door, Logan was there, soaked, shivering, and for the first time in months. So was I. Logan wasn't supposed to be there. The last I'd heard, he was in California, trying to piece his life together after dropping out of college. We hadn't spoken much in the past year. After the funeral, things just stopped. We were never particularly close to begin with. I met him when he was already 15, half feral with teenage silence and headphones glued to his ears. I never tried to mother him. He never asked me to. But when I opened the door and saw him standing there, soaked to the bone, hair plastered to his forehead, backpack slung over one shoulder, he looked more like a lost boy than a man. He said the roads were washed out. The motel in town had no power. His phone had died hours ago. I didn't know where else to go, he said, eyes not quite meeting mine. And I believed him. I made tea, gave him towels, a sweatshirt. We sat across from each other on opposite ends of the couch, the fire crackling between us like a third presence. Conversation was awkward, patchy, practical. He didn't ask about me. I didn't ask why he really showed up. But I watched him. Noticed the shadows under his eyes, the tension in his shoulders, He wasn't a boy anymore. Not really. There was something sharper about him now. Older, quieter. And beneath all the polite distance, there was something else. Something that made me forget, for a second, that I was supposed to be the adult in the room. The power cut out just after midnight. 1 second, the fire was flickering lazily in the hearth. And the next, darkness. Total, suffocating, velvet dark. I stood to grab my phone, forgetting how unfamiliar the layout of the cabin was. My foot caught the edge of the rug, and I stumbled forward, hands outstretched. I didn't hit the floor. I hit him. Or rather, he caught me. Warm skin, bare chest, damp breath against my cheek. My hands gripped his arms instinctively, fingers sliding over the lean muscle of his biceps. For a moment, neither of us moved. We were just frozen, breathing the same breath, listening to the storm howl just outside the windows. Sorry, I whispered, but I didn't step back. I don't know why. Maybe it was the dark. Maybe it was the heat from the fireplace lingering on our skin. Maybe it was the months, years, of isolation, all collapsing into that 1 second of unexpected contact. He didn't move either. His hands had found my waist, firm and cautious, as if he was afraid I might fall again. But I didn't fall. I stayed, standing there, so close I could feel the rhythm of his chest under my palms. His scent, clean, slightly smoky, wrapped around me. My heartbeat thudded against my ribs. I felt it in my throat, my fingertips, between my thighs. Then I pulled away, slowly, carefully. I didn't look at his face, because I didn't want to know what I'd see in his eyes. Or worse, what he'd see in mine. I told myself it was nothing. Just a stumble, a reflex, an accident, but my body knew better. My skin buzzed for hours afterward, the ghost of his touch lingering like static. I couldn't sleep. I paced the cabin in the dark, candlelight throwing shaky shadows across the walls. The storm had passed, but the power hadn't come back. Neither had my sense of control. I found him in the kitchen. He stood barefoot near the counter, nursing a bottle of water, shirtless, wearing only sweatpants that clung low on his hips. The candlelight curved around him, painting his torso in soft amber. When he turned and saw me, he didn't flinch. He just nodded, casual, like we were two people trying to survive the same quiet war. I couldn't sleep, I said, voice scratchy from too much silence. Me neither, he replied, taking another slow sip. Too quiet. I moved toward the sink, pretending to rinse a glass I didn't need. The air between us tightened, pulled taut by something neither of us had the courage to name. And then, like it wasn't even me speaking, I heard the words leave my mouth. Was that weird for you? He paused. What? Earlier, I clarified, my eyes glued to the candle's flickering flame. When I fell into you. Silence. Then, quietly, no. I dared to glance at him. His gaze was steady, watching me, not confused, not embarrassed. Just waiting. And something inside me broke open. Something I had boarded up long ago. I stepped closer. Not much, just enough for him to feel the change in the air. Me neither, I whispered. And I didn't walk away. I don't remember deciding to touch him. One moment, we were standing there, the silence between us breathing heavier than either of us could. And the next, my fingers brushed against his arm. Light, testing, curious, like I needed to confirm he was real. That this tension wasn't something I dreamed up out of loneliness. He didn't move away. So I didn't stop. My hand slid down, tracing the shape of his forearm, the dip of his wrist, until my fingers found his. He flinched, barely, but then let them wrap around his. Warm, firm. I looked up, and for the first time in years, someone was looking directly into me. Not through me, not past me, into me. He stepped in, just a little. Enough that our hands were between us. Not by accident, not innocent. My breath caught. I could feel his pulse. Or maybe it was mine. I didn't know anymore. Then his other hand brushed my waist. Fingers light but confident, and I swear the air cracked. Like the storm had returned, not outside, but between us, inside me. My heart pounded, my skin prickled, every cell in my body screamed for space, for reason, for rules, and none of them showed up. His hand rose, slowly, pausing just under my collarbone, like waiting for permission he already knew he had. And when his fingers touched my skin, something shattered. Not loudly, not violently, just undone. My hands moved too, sliding up his chest, memorizing the heat of him, the way his breath stuttered when I traced the line of his collarbone. I shouldn't have. God, I shouldn't have. But I wanted to know what it felt like to be wanted again. Even if it was wrong. Even if it was temporary. Even if it was him. I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the sound of my own breath louder than the wind outside. My robe was still tangled at my waist, my skin still warm from where his fingers had been. And every time I closed my eyes, I saw him, the look on his face, the quiet heat in his touch, the way he didn't hesitate. I'd wanted that closeness, that hunger, but now, in the silence of the early morning, it didn't feel like connection. It felt like weight. Heavy, all over me. What had I done? I sat up, my throat dry, stomach tight. The cabin was quiet, too quiet. Logan's door was closed, mine was cracked, as if I'd left it open on purpose, as if I'd wanted more than just that moment. I hated myself for that thought. I wrapped myself tighter in the blanket, like it could hide the shame pressed into my skin. This wasn't who I was. I wasn't reckless, I wasn't desperate, but I'd let something unravel, and I didn't stop it. I didn't even try. Would he regret it? Did he already? Or worse, would he think I wanted it again? I closed my eyes, my heart pounding with questions I didn't have the strength to answer. The storm had passed, the air outside smelled clean, but inside me, everything was still spinning. And I didn't know how to make it stop. I avoided him for most of the day. Stayed outside on the porch with a book I didn't read, headphones in with nothing playing, just noise, anything to drown out the questions gnawing at my mind. I told myself it was a one-time mistake, a moment born from blackout and boredom and being too close for too long. But lies don't settle easy when your body remembers the truth. By late afternoon, the air inside the cabin felt thick again, like it hadn't moved since last night. I came inside to grab water. And there he was, Logan, standing at the sink, shirt on this time, hair still damp from a shower, eyes locked on mine like he'd been waiting. "Hey," he said softly. I nodded, "Hey." The silence after stretched too long. Unspoken tension coiled between us, thick and sharp-edged. "About last night," I started. He shook his head, "Don't." His voice was low, calm, too calm. "I shouldn't have let that happen," I continued, but the words didn't sound convincing, not even to me. "You didn't let it happen," he said, stepping closer. "You wanted it, so did I." That stopped me cold. My heart thudded hard enough I thought he might hear it. "I'm older. I should know better," I whispered. He looked down, then back at me. "Maybe, but I'm not a kid. And neither are you." I should have walked away. I knew that. But my feet stayed planted. Because part of me didn't want to go. That night, the power came back. The lights flickered on mid-sentence. And we both blinked like waking from a dream. The room looked different in the light, smaller, sharper. So did he. So did I. We didn't speak. He went to his room. I stayed on the couch, staring at the now too bright fire, wrapping myself tighter in the throw blanket, as if it could erase what was still tingling under my skin. But it didn't. The next morning, something had shifted, subtle, permanent. He poured coffee for both of us without asking, sat across the table like it was normal, like we were just housemates, sharing space. But the way his eyes lingered on my hands, the way I couldn't stop tracing the rim of my cup, everything screamed otherwise. We didn't talk about it. We didn't have to. The line had already been crossed. It wasn't just what happened, it was the knowing. The way we both felt it still humming in the air between us. The way we couldn't unknow it now. I kept expecting guilt to wash over me like a wave. But instead, it came in small, sharp stings. The way his towel brushed mine in the bathroom. The way our fingers touched when passing the sugar. Little reminders that what we shared didn't stay in the dark. It came with us. And no matter how many lights were on now, we were still living in the shadow of what we did. I keep replaying it. The storm, the blackout, the silence between us that didn't feel empty, it felt loaded. Like we both knew where it was heading, even before it began. I don't know what comes next. He's still here, sleeping in the guest room like nothing happened. He makes coffee, takes long showers, smiles at me like we share a secret. Maybe we do. Maybe that's the worst part. I haven't told anyone, not my sister, not my therapist, not even myself, not out loud. Until now. You're the first person I've said this to. I don't need judgment. I've done enough of that to myself already. But I do wonder, if you were me, would you have stopped? Would you have pulled away when it still felt safe? Or would you have done what I did? Stayed in the dark. Just a little longer. So tell me, what would you have done? Leave a comment. Let me know if I'm alone in this. Because it sure doesn't feel like it anymore.